Hello, I'm Heidi Kuhn, your host of the Los Altos History Show. Tonight we'll be talking with Mary Davey about her involvement with Hidden Villa. Mary is a Los Altos Hills resident and describes herself as a career volunteer. Mary has been associated with Hidden Villa since 1966, when she became one of the founding members of the Hidden Villa's Board of Directors. Mary, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you. Mary, first of all, could you inform our viewers briefly about Hidden Villa and the philosophy that is involved there?
Yes, Hidden Villa really is, it's almost a state of mind, as well as being 1,600 acres of ranch land and wilderness tucked behind Foothill College in Santa Clara County. It is not only land of beauty, but it has a mystique and a wonderful presence to it that the Duvenecks brought to it when they bought it back in the late 20s. When we started out years ago, Josephine asked me to serve on the board because she knew that there needed to be a community group that was willing to share the vision that she and Frank had for the land and for the programs. So she reached out into the community, and I was one of the fortunate people that she asked. Along the way, she also asked Wallace Stegner and Bob Peckham, who's now a judge, and of course Wally Stegner is the Pulitzer Prize winner of the novelist fame. And we were asked really to prepare the way so that the people in the Mid-Peninsula would have Hidden Villa as a resource for the millennium. And so that's what we were asked to do, and I think we have tried to do that with a varying group of people along the way to make sure that Hidden Villa is part of the community resources that all the people in the Mid-Peninsula can share in.
Now, Mary, you had a wonderful opportunity to know Josephine personally.
Yes.
Could you describe her to the audience? What was she like? What are your fondest, most intimate memories of Josephine Duveneck?
Well, as you look at the book, Life at Two Levels, that's Josephine in her later years. She was a special person, as was her husband and her 4 children, but she herself was a person of great presence. Not only was she tall and lithe and a beautiful person, inwardly and outwardly, but she had a soft way of speaking in that cultured New England accent, but had a great deal of power behind it. And she also had a wry sense of humor, as did Frank. And it was that sense of humor and that vision that rallied her board around her to make a difference in preserving Hidden Villa. She would charm the socks off of anybody who came to Hidden Villa. The little kids would sit at her knees and listen to the tales that she told about Hidden Villa, and they would be quiet at the end of her story. They would know that they were in the presence of somebody very special. She was always very kind to me because she really valued people who tried to make a difference in the community. And she was the model for that. And she personally was warm and friendly and welcoming. And we learned a lot about not only her values, but the values of people she welcomed into her home. We learned about people like Cesar Chavez, the people who founded Highlander Center in Appalachia, and the difference of the Native Americans who actually lived on the land at Hidden Villa. And she welcomed diversity and was personally interested in making life better for everyone.
Would you describe her, Mary, as a woman with vision? I mean, in the 1920s, 1930s, a woman, an assertive, strong woman with this vision must have really been a trendsetter. How was she compared to in the times? Was she a visionary?
Yes, she was a visionary. When they first lived in Palo Alto, she was on the city council in Palo Alto, one of the first women to do that. She was a strong-minded woman, and it was funny when Frank talked about her book, Life at Two Levels. He laughingly said that he would write the book, Life at the Lower Level. He was the support system to a very strong person. She was a visionary in that she saw how important it was after World War II for the blacks and the whites to come to camp at Hidden Villa, and she started the camp in that era because she felt that if kids grew up together, they would understand each other, and they would not end up with the programming of the society, which has racism as one of its problems. And she felt that that was important, and she was visionary in that because certainly that was long before the time when Brown versus Board of Education occurred in '54 and the ensuing tries for integration. She'd already done it in the camp. She was also visionary in the creation of the environmental education program, which came to Hidden Villa in 1970. And she was really a strong woman, and I think she would have been delighted with the feminism that is going on today because she fostered that amongst all of us. And the children at the camp were treated each in his or her ability to achieve. So she was visionary in that in that way.
I was going to ask you that as the next question, just
Yes.
following an election, how she would see these times.
I think she'd be very comfortable here, and I think she would applaud what has come on and what has happened in everybody getting a whack at being successful. Men, women, people of all ages and colors and shapes. I think she'd be delighted. And I'm sure she's delighted that today the programs that she had envisioned are still alive and well, and even more, carrying on some of the ideas that she had at Hidden Villa before she died. And I think she would be delighted that we are doing the kinds of programs we are today.
That's exciting. Well, tell me a little bit about the foundation, the trust. It's called a trust. There's reasons behind that. What are those reasons?
When she first started the camp back in the 40s, pretty much it was her enterprise along with Frank. But then when it got bigger and she really wanted to reach out to the community, she created a not-for-profit entity, which was the reason that she needed to ask for funds outside of her own friends and whom she wanted to support. So the creation of the not-for-profit enterprise really began in the 60s, and then she formed the Friends of Hidden Villa in the middle 70s, just before she died in 1978, because she knew that there had to be a community group that would raise money. And even though the board that she had started in the 60s was her community representation for overseeing the camp and the environmental education program, we weren't the ones to raise the money. So she asked me and a group of others to create the Friends of Hidden Villa, which would be the fundraising arm of the organization. And that now is still in existence and puts on the country fair each year. And the board has now taken over the responsibility of raising funds to support Hidden Villa. And it actually became the trust for Hidden Villa in 1983 after Josephine had died and just before Frank died. And The trust, I think, was used as the name because it is a trust. The board and the family, particularly the 4 children who have made it possible for us to oversee these 1,600 acres, we wanted to let the public know that this is a trust for public use, and the family wants the community to know that we are holding this in trust for the community.
Beautiful philosophy.
And it was certainly genuinely her philosophy, and certainly that of Frank Duveneck, who felt very strongly about that. Frank would often say, we're only the stewards of the land, we really don't own it. And in a sense, we all own it now, thanks to Josephine, Frank, and their 4 children.
Many claim that there's a sense of spirituality as you drive through the gates there. Could you describe that? Have you heard that echoed throughout the community, or is...
That's true. The green gates, you enter, and to me, there is an immediate feeling of peace, serenity. You're entering a world where the mystique exists, not only of the values of Josephine and Frank, but the values that are eternal through all humanity and throughout the world. There is a convergence of faith and love and the spirituality at Hidden Villa. And yet it's very practically transmitted in the programs that are run there. The 3M program book, From Manure to Meadow to Milkshake. I don't know if I've got that correct, but from
sounds exciting.
It's the connection.
No, I saw that
That's
out
right.
there. Actually, we had an opportunity, right? The full circle and
that's
the whole
right. It's
process
the full
of all
circle,
life.
and
Right.
and that is, I think, really the most important part of the whole philosophy of the Duvenecks and the mystique. It's all hitched. Everything is hitched to everything else. And that's part of the mystique. And they understand that. And the curriculum fosters that knowledge. It also fosters the participation of people who want to learn about that connection. And it is certainly an important part of the trust, because once you understand how things are connected, not only people and things and the environment and the land, then you know how important that is, and you're part of transmitting the trust to the rest of the people around you.
Mary, that's beautiful. Very well spoken. Thank you. Well, our thanks to Mary Davy for joining us tonight to discuss Hidden Villa. Thank you, Mary. Our thanks also to Nancy Wooster, Public Relations Director at Hidden Villa, for her cooperation in helping us gather information and in scheduling video around the programs offered by the volunteers and staff at Hidden Villa. Thanks also goes to Liz Dana, Josephine and Frank Duveneck's daughter, who allowed us to use the family photographs to better acquaint you with the history of Josephine and Frank Duveneck. We hope you will enjoy this history and the excursion to a most extraordinary place. We hope to see you next time. Let's roll that tape now. Hidden Villa, one of Santa Clara Valley's hidden treasures, is an absolutely stunning wilderness oasis and outdoor organic classroom. Just minutes from Highway 280, it is a reminder of past associations with the land and is in high contrast to the surrounding landscape of suburban sprawl and freeway gridlock. Situated along Moody Road, once the stagecoach route from Pescadero to San Jose, Hidden Villa is a 1,600-acre land preserve that symbolizes the continuing struggle to protect open space. Hidden Villa today looks very much the same as it did 80 years ago, thanks to a remarkable couple, Josephine and Frank Duveneck. The Duveneks, avid outdoor enthusiasts, long admired this hidden valley visible from the ridge of Page Mill Road. During one of their frequent family excursions to explore the countryside, the Duveneks discovered the gate to the property, complete with a for sale sign. The year was 1924. Married in 1913, both Bostonians, the Duveneks had moved to California in 1917. They left behind a more structured, conventional life to explore not only a new land frontier, but their own growing sense of responsibility toward furthering the cause of humanitarian ideals. Purchasing Hidden Villa in 1925, Frank and Josephine blended their devotion towards humanitarian causes with their passion for the environment and people of all ages and cultural origins. They were champions for Native Americans, Japanese Americans, African Americans, and Mexican workers, especially those under the leadership of Cesar Chavez. In 1960, the Duveneks, along with their children, formed a nonprofit corporation in order to preserve the land and to continue the camps first begun in the 1930s and 1940s. The Trust now manages programs for children and adults that stresses appreciation and care for all living things, with a strong message about the importance of multicultural understanding. This generosity to preserving the land is best put in Josephine's own words. I have an abiding sense of the sacredness of this environment, especially after all our years here. I often hesitate to say we own this land. How can a person own what he has not created? Hidden Villa today is a living testimonial to that ideal. After entering the gate, we encounter the Visitor Center and Nature Shop. We're standing in front of the new Visitor Center and Nature Shop located near the entrance of Hidden Villa. Visitors may come here either by foot or on horse, as I understand, to enjoy the many beautiful trails here between 9 in the morning and dusk every day except Monday. We're standing here with Mary Carlson, manager of the Villa Visitor Center. Mary, how many travelers or local Los Altans enjoy this facility every year?
Well, annually we get about 12,000 visitors, casual visitors, and 17,000 children and adults who come through our environmental ed program. So that's close to 30,000 visitors a year.
And what is the community support? Are there many volunteers here in the Los Altos community that help support these beautiful trails?
Yeah, absolutely. Hidden Villa is definitely a volunteer-driven organization. We have over 500 volunteers who work in the gardens, in the nature shop, serve as docents, also work with our environmental ed program, leading farm tours and wilderness tours. We have an enormous volunteer squadron, which we happily recognize every year with an annual Valentine's Day party. So it really is a volunteer-driven organization.
We confirm Mary's statement about the spirit of volunteerism many times on our visit here to Hidden Villa. The interior of the Visitor Center is a bright and welcoming place with photographs of the Duvenek family lining the walls and touchable natural history displays, encouraging children to touch and feel the elements found in nature. The Ohlone Indian displays describes the crafts and games played long ago. Also a natural history shop, which helps support the operation. And of course, there are some stuffed reminders of the animals once common to the area. Environmental education is at the heart of what goes on here at Hidden Villa. It is based on the Duvenek's philosophy that children must first experience the beauty of the land, especially the interrelatedness of all living things, if they are to become responsible, informed caretakers of the planet. Students from all over the Bay Area are able to come to Hidden Villa and interact with the teachers who are trained environmentalists. We had an opportunity to interview one of the environmental teachers here at Hidden Villa.
I'm Dave Brodkey, and I'm the manager of the Hidden Villa Environmental Education Program. We serve 15,000 school kids from preschool to 6th grade each school year. And our staff has 4 teachers on it and 4 interns who are usually college age or slightly older. And we have a core of about 50 to 60 volunteers that do really the bulk of the teaching. We have 2 programs that we run. One is for preschoolers through 1st grade, and then we do one for 2nd to 6th graders called Farm and Wilderness Exploration, where they come and visit the farm and then also go out hiking on the trails. And for that program, we go into their classrooms a week ahead of time and do a 2-hour sort of song and dance, a slideshow and songs and role-playing and some hands-on stations that the kids go through. We have a new curriculum for the 2nd to 6th grade teachers to encourage them to do projects in their schools with the kids, whether it be setting up recycling or composting or other projects at the schools to promote sort of positive environmental action. We're working right now to try to carry out more of the multicultural vision that the Duveniks had with the summer camp program and bring that into the environmental education program through the year by trying to just really make kids aware of the different people involved, in producing food and different cultural values and attitudes towards food, or different, just being aware that there are different kinds of food out there that are, represent different cultures, so that they have some awareness of that as well. We're in our 22nd year now, and it started as a project that some I think they were students at the time, I'm not 100% sure of this, approached Josephine about whether they could bring kids from some of the local schools through the farm just to kind of introduce where kids' food comes from. And so she gave her okay, and it really started as a volunteer. It was pretty much an all-volunteer effort. And it has grown over the years to the point now, like I said, we're in our 22nd year, and we're now serving upwards towards 15,000 school kids in the course of the year. So it's really grown quite tremendously. And I think it's part of what the beauty of what the Duveniks did, or how their legacy sort of came to be, was that it seemed like a lot of the programs that have started here were things that sort of started as, oh, well, gee, how about let's try this and see what happens, and then they've really just kind of taken off, as real successful ventures, and real successful as far as communicating the values of caretaking towards the natural world and caretaking towards each other. That the Duveniks were really putting forth. And so, I think the environmental ed program is just one aspect of it. It's, certainly one of the larger aspects of Hidden Villa right now, but I think that's, that kind of, well, let's try it and see what happens, I think is really, how we got going. And hopefully, I hope they'd be happy with what's going on now.
Day Camp offers children the opportunity to experience the richness Hidden Villa offers in a variety of ways. The programs include working together in the organic garden.
Get a nice big juicy weed and pull it out. That's a great weed to pull. Up by the root, babe. You got the root?
Oh, yes, yes.
All right, she's got one more weed to go, and then she's going to go jump in the greens pile in the production garden. Yeah!
Yes.
Good Lord.
Caring for the farm's many animals. Hiking on the preserve's wilderness trails. Engaging in craft activities, and plenty of physical recreation. Layered into every segment of Hidden Villa's programs is the understanding that comes with sharing the experience with other children, teachers, and volunteers of diverse backgrounds. As Dave Brodkey mentioned, the camp program at Hidden Villa affords thousands of Bay Area youngsters the opportunity to visit the farm, explore the wilderness, and see farm animals at close range. For many children, this will be the first time they will have had this type of experience. This is a familiar scene at Hidden Villa. This group from Almond School in Los Altos has been transported here to enjoy a morning on the farm. Many adult volunteers tend the garden at Hidden Villa. The harvest is for sale most of the year. Here we see some beautiful tomatoes and also a pumpkin patch in late October. There's plenty of opportunity to explore Hidden Villa on your own. Beyond the garden is the barn and an old home called the White House that legend reveals was once a rest stop on the stage route along Moody Road. It served as an inspiration for one of Josephine Duvenek's short stories about a young man and his bride, entitled Escape by Stagecoach. Hidden Villa is also the site of the first youth hostel on the West Coast. Established in 1937, the hostel continues to afford inexpensive housing and companionship to the world's traveling youth. The family home, completed in 1930, is quite often the site of receptions, fundraisers, and seminars. As Dave Brodkey and Mary Carlson shared with us, the programs of Hidden Villa now serve thousands of Bay Area children and adults. The legacy of the Duveneks indeed lives on.